Hello everyone, today we are talking about clerics. You know, those folks that keep you alive. Plenty of new things in all the classes and the subclasses. That is also true for clerics.
One of the things that we wanted to make sure we did with the cleric, which is also a very popular class, is, as we've done with all of the classes, protect their core identity while looking for ways to amp up the fun, particularly for clerics and others who focus sometimes on healing, although of course many of us have played clerics who are all about smiting or something other than healing. But we wanted to make sure that anyone who is focusing on healing in the game really could feel good about it. And that's why we talked in our video about spells, about the buffs to many of the game's healing spells. And so clerics in particular are going to really feel that improvement and feel like that if they decide to spend their turn or part of their turn in battle helping their friends or themselves get back into the fight, we're hoping they're going to feel far better about dedicating their playtime to that healing activity. Now, when it comes to the class itself, right away at first level, people are going to get a brand new feature called Divine Order. Both the Druid and the Cleric now have this feature at first level that allows them to decide if they want to go more in the spellcasting direction or lean a little bit more into the armor and weapon direction. Now, Clerics and Druids both have at the baseline sort of decent weapon and armor capability and are very solid spellcasters. So this choice is really a choice of emphasis or of spice. Whichever one you choose, you're still going to have, again, decent armor and weapons as well as very formidable spellcasting. If you decide to go in Divine Order with the new Protector option, it means right at first level you're going to start with proficiency with martial weapons and heavy armor. This is how you can make the classic first edition cleric decked out in heavy armor and wielding a mace. But we've also acknowledged that over the decades, many clerics have instead leaned more in a kind of robe-wearing, divine magic wielding aesthetic direction. And so the Thaumaturge option supports that aesthetic by giving you an extra cantrip and also making it so that, and again, this is similar to what we did in the Druid, buffing some of your ability checks with a bonus equal to your wisdom modifier. And in the case of the cleric, the ability checks that get buffed are your intelligence, arcana, and religion checks, making it so that the thaumaturge, even if their intelligence isn't super high, can tap into their divine magic to give them a sense of information about either general magic in the form of arcana or about religion.
Perfect.
Now, in spellcasting, which is also at first level, there is an important change there where now clerics, every time they level up, can swap out one of their cantrips. Now you can say, oh, okay, I'm not using this cantrip as much as I thought, and so you can change. At second level, clerics get their iconic Channel Divinity feature, just as before. It still includes the option to turn undead, which again goes all the way back to first edition of clerics channeling their divine might to drive back the forces of undeath.
They should leave those undead alone. It's not fair.
But we have also now added a brand new channel divinity option for all clerics called Divine Spark. And this is a really fun channel divinity option where the cleric decides if they're going to channel this raw divine power either to harm someone or help them. So you can either deal damage with it or heal somebody with it. And we did this because looking over not only the subclasses for the cleric in this book, but as well as the other subclasses that have come out for the cleric over the years, clerics, depending on subclass choice, have had sort of varying use for their channel divinity. Like if you are in a campaign with few or no undead, turn undead does you no good.
Yeah.
And then some subclasses have channel divinity options that are useful every session, and then other subclasses have channel divinity options that are useful less frequently. With that reality in mind, we created Divine Spark to give every cleric, regardless of subclass, a channel divinity option that is likely to be useful in every single session of play, because pretty much every session, at least one point, you're going to want to deal damage or heal somebody. Unless you're having a very peaceful shopping montage session.
Yeah, right. That's fair.
Unless, the cleric discovers that the shopkeep is undead and they need to drive them away with Turn Undead. Now, that classic option, Turn Undead, it itself has been redesigned. As much as we enjoy the classic Turn Undead of the undead who are affected scampering far away, we wanted this to be a bit less disruptive for the cleric, because it is often not useful for the cleric for the undead to now be half a mile away when it runs out.
Right, and spread around the map, yeah.
Exactly. So Turn Undead still, if it affects an undead creature, it still shuts them down in terms of, being able to do much of use for them, but no longer has them scrambling from here to the next town. And we found that not only in the Unearthed Arcana process, but also in our own playtests, that this new version of Turn Undead is a lot of fun.
And this is like a debuff or damage or?
So what it does now is the undead creature is incapacitated and frightened for 1 minute. And it does try to move as far as it can from you on its turns, but it's no longer dashing.
Yeah, okay.
And it also it's clearer with the rest of the system how it's behaving, because it has now the incapacitated condition as well as the frightened condition. And those two things were implied before, and now it's explicit.
Okay.
The new version of Turn Undead is then buffed later at level 5 by another new feature called Sear Undead. And with this feature, you now have the option, when you use Turn Undead, to blast the undead creatures that you're turning with radiant energy and deal damage to them. This is a way for you to have your Turn Undead have an offensive capability without requiring the undead to hit a particular challenge rating threshold to be destroyed by your Turn Undead. So the 2014 version of Turn Undead, when you got to higher level, would just simply destroy certain undead creatures. And what we found is the problem with that is it was this very kind of all or nothing thing. And then that also meant that you gained no benefit against creatures that were not within that very specific challenge rating range. We replaced that primarily because we wanted to give you a buff that you were happy to have no matter what the CR was of the undead creature. And so now you have this ability to, you don't have to worry about what the CR is. Once you have it, you have the option of blasting it with radiant damage. And the advantage of this new feature is eventually this radiant damage will get high enough that you will still pretty much automatically destroy very low CR undead.
Yeah.
So you will often, particularly if you have lucky damage rolls for the radiant damage, still incinerate the undead that you're turning. But even when you don't do that, you're still going to be able to pump out some radiant damage even against that high CR lich.
Yeah, perfect. Makes sense.
Now at level 7 in the Cleric, we also have a new feature called Blessed Strikes. And Blessed Strikes is a replacement for two different features that appeared previously in subclasses. Cleric subclasses in the past tended to have either a feature called Divine Strike or one called Potent Spellcasting. Divine Strike pushed the cleric toward weapon use, and Potent Spellcasting, it's in the name, buffed the cleric spellcasting, specifically the cleric's cantrips. And because we now let you at first level decide which of those directions you want to lean in, we wanted you to then, following on from that, get to make a choice between Divine Strike and Potent Spellcasting at level 7, rather than automatically giving you one of those as part of a particular subclass. And we found that doing it the old way kind of pigeonholed certain subclasses in ways that wasn't always how the players wanted to play that subclass. You know, we might have decided that a particular subclass got Divine Strike rather than Potent Spellcasting, but the player who chose that subclass might decide, but I'm not interested in wearing armor and being in melee. I want to actually hang back, and would really have enjoyed having Potent Spellcasting instead. So with that in mind, we've put the power in the player's hands to decide which of those directions that you go in. We also, this is a case where we have a note in the feature itself that if you happen to take the new version of the Cleric, but wed it to a subclass from an older book, you do not get both the Potent Spellcasting or Divine Strike from the subclass, as well as whatever you choose from the base class. You just get one.
Perfect.
And that's explained right here in the Cleric itself.
Okay.
Now, when we get to level 10, we have a new version of Divine Intervention. Now, previously, Divine Intervention was a style of game design that I sometimes refer to as Mother May I game design, where the player basically had to ask the DM's permission for something to happen. Mm-hmm. And also, this was locked behind a die roll that would determine whether or not your feature even did anything.
Yeah.
So our goal with the new Divine Intervention is we wanted to give the cleric certainty that their class feature would actually do something. And so in the new design, you just simply use it, and you choose any cleric spell of level 5 or lower that doesn't require a reaction to cast, and you cast it. It's that simple. And then you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So what this means is once you reach level 10, you as a cleric, regardless of what cleric spells you have prepared, have in your back pocket the ability to pick any cleric spell of 5th level or lower and decide, I'm casting that now. So it still serves the function that Divine Intervention had before, which is sort of fishing for a divine get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah.
And I think the feedback we got on this was very positive. And what's also really nice about it is when you cast the spell, you don't expend a spell slot, and you do not need material components.
Yeah.
This means, yes, you could choose Raise Dead, which is a 5th level spell, and cast it, calling on Divine Intervention to raise someone from death. And we designed this very specifically to make that happen, because what else feels like Divine Intervention than bringing back somebody from the dead?
You are going to ruin the diamond economy in D&D. All these NPCs that sell diamonds are just...
in all of their shops outside all the temples in D&D cities.
Yeah, exactly 500 gold piece worth of diamond.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, at level 14, we improve Blessed Strikes, and so whichever option you chose earlier at level 7, Divine Strike or Potent Spellcasting, it gets even better. And then finally, at level 20, we have Greater Divine Intervention, which now lets you choose the Wish spell. and the wish spell as the divine intervention that you're reaching out for, and gives you all of the magical flexibility that wish gives a spellcaster. And the wish spell has been expanded in the spell chapter. It has several new built-in options that do not risk you triggering the
monkey's paw effect.
The fatigue that wish can impose upon a person.
Yeah.
And it also has further guidance in the spell of what happens to you if you try to mess with gods, or even worse, with the Lady of Pain.
Yeah.
Like our other dedicated spellcasting classes, the spell list has been expanded, not only because of new spells that are in the book, like Summon Celestial, but also because of spells that were already in the game in 2014 that clerics now have access to. And our cleric subclasses definitely also then get to make use of the bolstered spell selection because of their domain spells.
When you pre-order the digital physical bundle, you also get an exclusive digital gold dragon mini for our 3D virtual tabletop, the Dragons of D&D digital art book, 15 dice sets, 34 frames, and 15 backdrops. And if you pre-order the digital 2024 Player's Handbook on D&D Beyond, you get exclusive bonuses, 12 sets of digital dice representing each class, 10 new frames, and 5 new backdrops. And all of those Player's Handbook bonuses are available right now on D&D Beyond. You can find the links to all of that in this video description.
Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video content coming out about the new Player's Handbook and all the new core rulebooks, the new monster manual, the new Dungeon Master's Guide. So be sure to check out all of that content. And thank you for watching.